Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So earlier today, Deep Dive for Captain America Sam Wilson has dropped, and even though we did know his leaked data mine abilities, obviously we do have even more detail here, and we could see some numbers and some more animations and things like that, so we are able to kind of get more accurate view of the champion. But still, at the same time, keep in mind that this is all very early on in the champion. When it comes to deep dives, they often do relatively poor actual representation of the champion's total quality. They give you a very good idea of what his abilities are, obviously, and how his rotations could potentially look like. But when it comes to their numbers, they can often be fairly misleading. There have been a number of champions that look less than sensational in deep dives and actually turn out to be really great. Therefore, when it comes to the numbers and total kind of judgment on the champion itself, obviously take it all with a grain of salt, and keep your mind open for further information, further videos, more gameplay, so on and so forth. But let's start with the most important abilities. So first and foremost, he is another tech champion that does not crit. Instead of a crit, you get instant rupture damage on the opponent, which is quite interesting because obviously rupture is based on physical resistance, so he will do more damage with champions who have low physical resistance, and he will do less damage with champions who have high physical resistance, and there will be quite big difference there. On top of that, we already knew that he has his armor ups. Whenever he is hit or he lands a basic attack, he can gain a relatively modest armor up buff, and they can stack up to 5 as being indefinite, and after that you can keep on stacking even more of them, but then they have 10-second duration. While armor up is active, you can parry projectiles, which can be quite useful, and also against non-contact attacks, and he can block unblockable specials from the mutants. So he, in general, is gonna hard counter several mutant champions, including Kitty Pryde. He might be the best Kitty Pryde counter because he doesn't crit, he can basically place cowardice for prolonged periods of time, so Kitty can't get any prowess, and even if she has gotten some prowess, he can block the unblockable specials from Kitty, so on and so forth, and he can bypass miss, not that you necessarily want to if the Kitty is awakened, but he pretty much shuts down all of Kitty's abilities and many other mutant abilities. There is a ton of utility in his kit. Now, each armor up reduces the opponent's bleed ability accuracy by 25%. Now, this can be useful. Obviously, just having a bleed immunity would be much better on a champion. He is one of those tech champions that come around fairly seldom, that doesn't really have any direct immunities, but he has a way to counter bleeds to a degree. Also, you do have auto block based on your armor up, so more armor ups, higher chance to auto block, or if the opponent has prowess, then you have even higher chance to auto block their special attacks if they're mutants. So against mutants, you can have guaranteed unblockable special attack auto blocks. But that would also remove your armor ups and would have to get you kind of amping up your damage. Now here we can see a showcase of that rupture damage. And he also has these charges that he can get up to 25. They last X amount of time, but there are ways how to pause them and how to increase the duration of them. But basically they activate whenever rupture damage activates. So basically whenever you crit, and you can combine 25 of them into a passive power drain, as we can see here. And that also seemed to give you, oh no, never mind, that was from special 3 effect. But yeah, if you get up to 25, then you can power drain the opponent. So there is a power control component to the champion. Now this Recon scan, I was very interested in the numbers here, and they are fairly decent. So basically dashing back, holding block, you lock on your opponent for 16 seconds, and that is fairly good amount of lock on duration, and then 12-second cooldown. And then if you have him awakened, you increase the lock on duration by additional 2 seconds. Also, you pause it during his special attacks, and when entering lock-on, cap passively inflicts cowardice for the duration of lock-on, which is again absolutely shutting down Kitty Pryde, but in general it just will reduce the special attack damage by 40%. Also, while lock-on, cap gains additional critical rating. If he's awakened, he will also gain additional attack, so you're going to be hitting harder. And striking the opponent while lock on pauses sapped charges for 5 seconds. Those are the charges we mentioned previously. Also important note, while he is locked on the opponent, he cannot miss, so he could potentially be a very good miss counter, which we do need more of in the game. Right. So here we can see him bypassing miss and all that other good stuff, having covered this active with the lock-ons. And interesting thing is that you can swap out one armor buff, or you can intercept the opponent to gain, I believe, 10-second bulwark charge that increases your block proficiency, makes him even tankier in combination with those armor buffs. But on top of all of that, you reduce opponent's ability accuracy by 100% whilst they are striking you. And that has a lot of potential uses. This is actually one of the key aspects that I like the most about the champion, because you will be able to bypass those annoying nodes where you get disoriented if you parry, because that's not going to activate. You're going to be able to bypass kinetic transference, which can often be fairly frustrating, so opponents will not be gaining any power striking your block. You're going to be able to bypass quite a few different annoying mechanics, because we have more and more champions that do nasty stuff to you when they get to hit in your block and nodes. So I actually do think that there is quite a lot of potential for this piece of utility specifically, and in combination with the rest of it, he does seem like a champion that will be worthwhile hunting for and having. He just seems to be one of those kind of Kabam favorite kids where they mushed pretty much everything in that kit. And here we go. So level 1 inflicts physical vulnerabilities. You inflict 1 normally, and you can pause it whilst locking on the opponent, or you inflict 2 if your lock-on is already active. And that will increase the rupture damage as well, because as I mentioned, ruptures are damage over time effects that are connected to opponent's physical resistance. Obviously, physical vulnerability reduces that. So level 1 is basically to kind of amp up your max damage potential for most part. And level 1 also importantly does not consume your armor ups like level 2 or 3 can. Right, so level 2 inflicts ruptures, and those ruptures really do not seem to be doing all that much damage by themselves, especially if you're not amped up. But level 2 has more abilities based on whether you locked on the opponent, based on how many armor ups you consume. And if you are locked on the opponent, then with level 2 you can also inflict bursts of damage to the opponent, like a rupture burst of damage. And there are more stuff that's happening there. And with level 3, basically you gain a precision buff that will all but guarantee you crit. You can pause that precision as you are striking the opponent. It will also enable you to crit through block, I believe. And you will basically be able to get to 25 sap charges after level 3 very quickly. So it kind of mitigates the issue about worrying about opponent's power after your level 3, which is something that I like. I never like special attacks, level 3 attacks, where you have to bait out opponent's special attacks afterwards, and then, you know, you have timed buffs, or you just kind of lose the momentum of the fight. With Falcon, Sam Wilson, it does not seem to be the case as such. On top of that, you also can special lock the opponent if you were already locked on at the time of throwing level 3. That means that they will be unable to throw special attacks. Now, his SIG ability does look like it's going to be quite needed. It's going to be quite important. I'm not too sure on SIG level itself or how it's going to scale, but having him awakened is going to be really, really beneficial, unlike Misty Knight. So Red Wind lock on lasts 2 seconds longer. You gain 1300 attack rating, and you also can inflict ruptures through the blocks. And then also, when either champion performs a well-timed block, Captain America inflicts a sap charge on the opponent. You know, that's going to help you with that aspect of the champion. When an opponent fails, or when their ability fails due to ability accuracy, an instant rupture is inflicted, dealing 1000 physical damage. And that's also quite important because, again, you're going to be reducing opponent's ability accuracy by 100% whilst they are striking your block. So it could be quite helpful to have, and definitely would make using the champion better. Now, the biggest worry about the champion, and I'm not going to lie here, is the damage. I I did not think that Misty Knight is going to be like a really high damage output champion. But here we can see that Storm's still at 62%. In Misty Knight's video showcase, without the class advantage, she basically had a rotation of one level 1, one level 2, one level 1, and she got about half of Black Bolt's health down, which is, you know, identical to Storm's health. So that was a shorter rotation. This rotation has been 2 level 1s and then a level 2. So this is about 25% longer rotation because you had to gain 4 bars of power in total, opposed to Misty Knight's 3. And with that, Storm is only at 62%. And that's with class advantage, unlike Misty Knight, for comparative reasons. So damage is the one thing that I'm currently the most worried about when it comes to Captain America Sam Wilson. But again, these numbers can be misleading, and damage often appears to be lower in these deep dive videos. I hope his damage holds up. That's kind of like my biggest worry, because by the looks of it, his kit will. His kit will hold up. He has armor ups that can be turned into passives if you go up against a nullified champion. You know, he doesn't crit. He has access to Rupture, physical vulnerability, parry projectiles, reduces bleed ability accuracy, and bypass miss. And, you know, there's a lot in that kit. Reduce opponent's offensive ability accuracy by 100%, basically when you're getting struck in a block. There's quite a lot in that kit that I like. I'm definitely interested in him as a champion if everything comes together a lot. He seems like one of those champions that you really do want to have on your account that could potentially be by far the best option in certain matchups. Damage is where currently I'm very, very cautious at. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, because again, in deep dives, it's quite hard to tell, but it does not really look great either at this point in time. Again, still need to keep an eye out for that. Hit itself looks really good. When it comes to synergies, he actually has some really crazy synergies. I think he can turn an Ant-Man into an actual damage machine, because Ant-Man has a synergy with Ghost where for every debuff on the opponent, you gain 15% attack. And with this synergy, each hit of Special 1 has 100% chance to place Fatigue debuff on the opponent. The last hit on the Special pauses all Fatigue debuffs for 20 seconds. And in theory, 20 seconds is long enough to throw another level 1. So you can kind of infinitely keep increasing your attack. Now, Ant-Man has a few other interesting synergies. But the point being is, this synergy could turn Ant-Man into kind of like a Star-Lord, in a sense, if you have Sam Wilson on your team and Ghost. And with that, you know, there could be some very interesting things happening. Obviously, it is seemingly more of a fun type of synergy, nothing you necessarily want to use in Alliance War or something, but it does seem quite interesting and fun for Ant-Man. Also, increase the armor up effects by 15%. It's not that big of a deal, even though it could help with level 2 damage. Now we have synergy with Falcon, Darkhawk, and Sauron. And I'll be honest, none of these look too great for any of the champions. So opponent's combat power rate is decreased by 40% while lock-on is on cooldown. That's the key aspect when lock-on's on cooldown. So that's every, 18 seconds going to be active for like 12 seconds or something like that. But typically, like when you fight with Falcon, you use that cooldown to bait out special attacks, to refocus, to kind of slow down the fight, and you don't really hit the opponent all that much whilst lock-on's on cooldown. So we'll see how it is with this champion, but I don't expect too much from this synergy. Darkhawk, each hit of Special 1 has 10% chance to refresh the current active mode. It's neat. It's very, very RNG, so I'm not too fast about the synergy either. And with Sauron, you get some physical resistance or energy resistance buffs, which again didn't seem all that needed or impressive. It's kind of neat. Now, this synergy does seem to be more useful because War Machine is a champion that quite likely could accompany Captain America, Sam Wilson, in quests and fights. Special 1 inflicts heal block debuff for 15 seconds. That's quite good. Just additional piece of utility. Heal blocks that are active. It's kind of weird that we don't see it on his base kit. One of the very few champions who doesn't very few tech champions who doesn't have it, but there is synergy for that. Also, War Machine, you have basically better level 1 with Rapture, duration, and ability accuracy increased. So that's, you know, nice for War Machine. Now, carrying on, this is probably the best synergy for Captain America Infinity War and for Captain America Sam Wilson. This synergy really does seem to be extremely useful. Now, first and foremost, on well-timed blocks, gain a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by 13%. Max stacks 5, so you can gain 65% attack increase. These Furies are removed if you get hit or get hit in a block that isn't a well-timed block. But still, there's decent potential to give you extra damage plus extra access to Fury buffs. So, you know, can be quite good. But the kicker is on the Captain America Infinity War and Captain America World War II. A well-timed block inflicts staggered debuff that lasts for 10 seconds. Staggered opponents has their next buff nullified, maximum 2 stacks. But this gives a guaranteed 4th debuff on every parry. In addition, obviously, Captain America Sam Wilson is a tech champion, so that will give you Petrify and Stagger. So you would have to have a Cosmic and a Science champion on your team. And then every parry would inflict 4 debuffs. With Despair, that's 60% healing reduction, 25% additional from Petrify. So with a single parry, you would reduce opponents' regeneration abilities by 85%. 2 parries, you know, they go well below in negatives. And on top of that, you will be able to use Captain America Infinity War as a pseudo Mystic champion, which also is, you know, very useful thing. So I actually think this is potentially one of the most awesome things that we can see here. So I like that a lot. One second, I made a mistake, I think. And then we have last synergy with Winter Soldier. For all Avengers, at the start of the fight, gain the following buffs, all lasting 10 seconds. Fury buff, precision buff, and critical rating buff. I looked at the Avengers. I don't think there are any champions besides OG Thor that can take a very good benefit from this, because it's only 10 seconds only at the start of the fight. But I do think this could quite significantly help OG Thor's startup damage, because he accesses almost all of his damage pretty much instantly after a parry or 2, and he gains extra benefits from having additional Fury buff active. So this could be very interesting for OG Thor, but, you know, other than that, I think it's kind of like a novelty synergy for most part. And then we have Winter Soldier. Special attacks have a percentage chance equal to the number of hits in the combo meter to gain True Strike. I don't think it's all that powerful. It's only during special attacks, and you need to have a quite long ramp up for it. And typically when you need a True Strike, you need it very early on in the fight. So I don't think this synergy does much for Winter Soldier at all. But this synergy is the one that I do think is very much so worth looking at, and there will be some very useful interactions. That being said, I'm definitely looking forward to this champion getting added to the game. This is a champion that I do think that I want for my own roster, just to be able to do things better than I already can. And the biggest, obviously, doubt at the moment is in the damage department, but hopefully it works out well enough. He doesn't have to be super hard-hitting champion, because he has a ton of utility. You just need to do enough damage. Well, those are kind of my breakdown thoughts. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. See ya! Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about